This is WCM's Park Update, a weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish. WCM's Park Update is a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and this is another episode of WCM's Park Update. And of course, my esteemed co-host, Mike Gast, who's enjoying the wonderful weather in Omaha, Nebraska.
Nope.
So the steaks are pretty good in Omaha. At least that's what I've been told. So
that's all marketing. See, he buys it with marketing.
He buys it with marketing. And our guest today is Marcia Neese, co-owner of RiverWalk RV Park in North Carolina. And I guess, Marcia, what's your husband's name again?
Jim.
Jim. Yes. You and Jim both built the park, right?
That's correct. Yep. As a matter of fact, he's working there today in the off season. Working on some projects.
Yeah. And when did you guys open the park?
We opened in June 2020.
Wow. Yeah.
The most ideal time to open an RV park, right? What were we thinking?
And I guess, how many sites do you guys have?
We have 51 sites. We occupy one of those, as well as we have a Camp Post couple on site and then 2 Camp Post off site. So the second one is occupied by the Camp Post couple on site. So 49 sites that we book out.
And do you have any type of like glamping units, or is it just RV sites, or do you have tent sites, or?
Nope, just RV for us. Wanted to keep it simple and not muddy the waters. We're straight RV sites.
All right. And do you guys plan on expanding down the road, or do you have room to expand?
If I had $1 every time we were asked that question by our guests, because it's really hard to get into our park, we actually have first rights to a nice piece of property beside the park. So that's why we get asked that a lot. And all we would do, or what we will do when we take that over, is just preserve that property. The 51 sites is our dream. Boutique size resort was what we signed up for. I'm past 50 and my husband's getting there, and we didn't want to just take on added responsibility as we get older. We actually just wanted to be able to create an RV park to where we cater to our guests, as well as our staff's able to do that, instead of creating an RV park where we're just collecting payroll and paying people to work there. And we feel personally that's what happens when you grow too large and you're just managing something. So long-winded story there, but we may do a couple more sites on the riverside, and you're the first to hear that, but we don't know for sure yet.
So when you were designing the sites, did you have anything special in mind there? Are there special features on those RV sites that folks should know about?
Well, that's a great question, Michael. When we were designing the sites, we had no idea what we were doing. And maybe that I can segue into just a little history to help with clarifying that. My husband was a professional athlete, and my son is now. So we spent most of our weekends over the past how many years, a lot of them, in our toy hauler in stadium parking lots, like Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys play, or in large fields. And so we knew the community piece of it because we camped nonstop, cooking out with others. Our kid grew up with the other kids there. The part that we weren't familiar with was the RV park side. Yeah. Nor did we research, nor did we want to. We wanted it to be really organic and to look and feel like what we would want an RV park to feel like if we stayed somewhere. And so my husband took 2 years to build. And just kind of slowly, we own a grading company, so that's kind of the backstory there. He kind of slowly removed, it was 11 acres of what we call kudzu down here in the South, and it grows wild like vines, and you have to remove it all and burn it to ever get rid of it. And so he slowly built the park himself, and took our camper in and out of every single site there. And our dream became that of others, which is really interesting, because they'll come in and they'll go, gosh, if I could have designed a park myself, this is what it would look and feel like.
Yeah.
And I think what helped us was not actually being in a park and seeing what other parks looked and felt like, that we just were able to create it from what we would want.
Yeah. Yeah, I get, I mean, so you explained a little bit about why you decided to do, how long did it take you to develop the park?
2 years.
2 years. Wow.
Slowly.
Did COVID, I know you said you opened like in June of 2020. Did COVID slow that down at all, or were you able to open on time?
Actually, that is an interesting question. We hit some walls with permitting and different things like that because of COVID. They were down to one inspector in this small little town that we love so much that we've built our park in. And he was on vacation for a couple of weeks, and then, just different permitting issues as we moved along. So we were actually supposed to open a little bit prior to COVID. And with, I just kept praying. I'm like, show me what you're doing, God. I know you've got a plan. Take me there. What is this? What's going on? I'm keeping the faith. And when we finally were approved to open, it was June instead of March, when everything was so crazy. So therefore, instead of having to give a ton of refunds, we were booked up. As soon as I went live with CampSpot, our site started booking immediately, and we were able to offer the safe haven and a sense of normalcy in a time that nobody else had felt anything like that in so long, including ourselves. So we built this little bubble, and it's been full ever since. So
Wow.
You had mentioned beforehand, so you were open all year for like the first 2 years, right? But this year you took a break in January and February.
yes.
Explain a little bit about why you decided to do that, or
Yeah, that's an easy one. Our first season was mild through the winter, and was wonderful for camping. Our second season last year, we decided we were traveling internationally, and we get a call, and it had snowed, and we really hadn't taken that in consideration because there wasn't much snow the year before. Well, what we didn't know is that our drive coming into the park, it's a beautiful drive. It comes down a hill and overlooks the river. Unfortunately, doesn't get any sun in the winter. And it takes about 2 weeks for any accumulation of snow to melt. And so we were working remotely to troubleshoot. So we, had to hire a company to do grading, which is what my husband does. So that alone was a kick in the gut to him. And then we were kind of talking our camp hosts through, put some salt out. Well, we didn't know that salt didn't do well with gravel when you're getting rid of snow. And Michael, I guess you're probably, that already, being cold. Yeah. So we had this large motorhome get stuck in our driveway. And and we were supposed to be recharging on a break, and it wasn't an ideal winter for us. And so I talked to our accountant, and I said, what do we need to do to take off a January, February, give our camp host a break? My husband and I can recharge. We don't have to worry about anybody getting stuck in the park.
Yeah.
Although the guy that got stuck is a retired vet and travels alone, and he actually loved being stuck there. I will say that he's the one that benefited from it. And he put a goal in place for me, and I hit it. And now I know what that goal looks like. So we will be closing every January, February, which has been wonderful. Behind the scenes, a few of us are still doing what we do, but for the most part, the gate's closed and no one's getting stuck.
So you didn't have any customers who were trying to overwinter down there?
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our winter campers weren't happy with us.
Oh, so you had to
And
move
they said,
them
well,
along.
this is my favorite time to camp. And I said, not ours. Sorry. Yeah, no, our winter campers weren't real happy with us, but we actually gave them some ideas of local places to go to. We have no problem doing that. We know they'll be back, and they're happy because they're camping somewhere close by and they know the area.
So in 2 years, you started with some bare ground here, it looks like, and now you've got this mix of back in and pull through sites.
Yep, we mainly have pull through. We have a row of back end on the riverside and a row on the opposite side of the park where it's very shady and wooded, more private. My husband is all about saving marriages. So I think with his game plan there, he didn't want as many back-end sites as a lot of the other parks are now that we find out have.
That's
Although
high entertainment on a campground for the other campers.
yeah. It's set up to where we're actually on the back end. So if we want to be entertained, we can kind of sit back and watch everything happen. Not my husband though, because he doesn't want anybody in his grass. He's the grass Nazi.
Now the pond you've got on the property now, did he construct that pond?
He did. It's funny when you say
Beautiful.
that. When we first opened, I said, it's our beach. It's our beach. And my husband called it a pond because we both grew up on farms, and we wanted our park to reflect the way that we grew up, just old fashioned, no jump pads. We wanted families to be able to camp and enjoy have that family time. And that's a great question because it was originally going to be a bark park. It was going to be the largest bark park ever in a campground. I'd reached out to Chewy.com. They were going to sponsor it. They were ready to send, tennis balls and different things like that. And my husband comes home and he looks at me and goes, the bark park's not going to be a bark park. And I spend a lot of time marketing. That's my background. I was prepared. I had my whole plan laid out. This is going to be great. But I trust him, and he's a visionary, and he's an amazing visionary. So I took a breath and I said, well, what is it going to be? And he said, well, there's no tree. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, there's no trees there. And he said, we can't have the fur babies in this area and the people burning up and the dogs trying to play where it's hot. And I said, okay, so where's our plan? He said, it's going to be a pond. I mean, he said a pond, and he said, but with a beach. And so that's where Barefoot Beach came from. And unbeknownst to us, it's the highlight of our park. I mean, it is the focal
beautiful
point.
Spot.
Yeah.
Thank you. He treats it just like a pool as far as maintaining it. And it's tranquil blue. We use the blue algae cutter, I should say. So it's gorgeous. And the guests love it. We have a ton of guests who don't actually go camp at the beach anymore because of the humidity and how hot it is when they can just come to our beach, and the kids don't really know the difference. They think they're at the beach.
And you still were able to have a bark park. I see you still, it's probably just not the size of the one that you were planning, right?
Actually, it's bigger.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's bigger. We share so we have a really good relationship with Jonesville, the town that we're in. With it being small, sometimes that makes it easier. And like I said, we absolutely love the area. And it's their property, and we built the bark park. So therefore, so no insurance liability, and the town gets to enjoy it as well as our guests. And so with that being the case, we built a very large bark park. We have a small area for small dogs and a large area for large dogs.
So what type of demographic stays at your park? Is it a lot of families, or do you see our workers in their RVs? I guess what do you see?
That's a great question as well. Because we are a transient park, we send all the workers to a neighboring park.
Okay.
Yep, we have different guests every single weekend. I would say when we first opened, it was 80-20, 80% return, 20% new, to where now 2.5 seasons in, I would say that we're 60-40, 60 new, 40 repeat.
Okay.
But then that transitions pretty quickly because we kind of joke, they'll come for the first time and you see, and they're walking around with their cell phone and they're holding the map, and we're like, you're grabbing some more sites, aren't you? And they're like, yeah, there's so much to do here. We didn't realize it. As far as demographic and all, we have families. I mean, we cater everyone. We have families. I would say we probably don't get as many families as some of the larger parks with the bells and whistles, again, because we're old school. We want you to entertain your family. We don't want something to entertain them. And that's just kind of where we are to the core. So therefore we don't have a ton of kids, but we have a lot of kids, if that makes sense. And we get a lot of couples because we have wineries nearby. I'm partnered with some great partnerships that cater to picking people up from their sites and taking them, on a winery tour or rafting on the river, different things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we just have to take a minute to recognize our sponsor, and we'll be right back to talk more with Marcia.
WCM's Park Update is being brought to you by Woodall's Campground Magazine. For over 5 decades, Woodall's Campground Magazine has aimed to provide park owners and operators with the relevant industry news they need to run their businesses more efficiently. As times have changed, so has Woodall's Campground Magazine. Besides just its print publication, which is distributed to more than 14,000 industry professionals every month, the magazine also reaches readers through its various social media platforms, including Facebook at Woodall CM, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Woodall's Campground Magazine also offers a daily e-blast which highlights the top news from the industry. The best part, everything we do is advertiser supported and free to our readers. As the outdoor hospitality industry continues to grow at a rapid pace, it is important to stay up to date on trends and other relevant news. Subscribe to Woodall's Campground Magazine at woodallscm.com.
I'm Ben Quiggle, and welcome back to WCM's Park Update. Our guest is Marcia Neese, co-founder of RiverWalk RV Park in North Carolina, and we were just talking a little bit about the demographics of her park, building the park. I guess, what are some of the challenges that you have faced just owning the park? What have you and your husband had to tackle on the challenge front?
I've been asked that question before, and I kind of struggle with it.
That's good. It's gone smoothly.
Yeah, as silly as that, I need to kind of write out maybe what they may be. As silly as that sounds, we really haven't had any challenges. That was my knock on wood there. Everything runs very smoothly for us. And I don't know if that's just because we both have the mentality to where we just dig in. Okay, here's one. 2020. October of 2020, just been open a few months. Our park flooded, and we total lost everything except for our bathhouse, which the water was an inch below us losing that. And when I say total loss, I mean it's gravel and different things like that. But we're on a river, and we're in a 200-year flood zone, and it was the second largest rainfall since 2018 for the year, as we all know. 2020 was a tough year for rain. And so we rebuilt the park. My husband rebuilt the park in a week, which was kind of odd that it took him 2 years while I was holding down a corporate career. And I said, "You sure you weren't just kind of sitting on things then?" No, just kidding. So we worked together. And then 2 weeks later to the date, we flooded a second time. After we had rebuilt. Yeah. So no floods since, nothing. I think we're good. 200-year flood zone. We're good for another 400 years. I would say that would be our biggest challenge. But again, the two of us just kind of put our heads down and do what needs to be done. The positive, and I don't even really feel how that felt anymore, because the neatest thing was, I'm an open book on social media. Our guests are so loyal, and even if they've never been to the park, they feel like they know us, or we feel like they know them. And yeah. I was posting what was happening as it was happening, and a lot of parks would probably have tried to hide that, because they're like, in your mind, you're like, well, I don't want to go there. That place floods. That's dangerous, especially if it's raining. But I just wanted to be completely transparent as to what we were going through as owners, because we had built, prior to us opening, I had built this relationship on social media with those that were coming to camp or those that were interested. So the neatest thing I would say that came out of that is the whole community, social media community that we bonded with, we're all offering to help. What can we do? Which wasn't much, because it was a lot of mud and more skid steer work than anything. But then what came out of that was I started seeing and I get a little emotional, because it was beautiful. And all the forums, North Carolina Camping Forums, and all of them, and I monitor anytime somebody said, we want to go here for this, or what do you suggest for that? And to this day, it's RiverWalk. So the flood was nasty, and it was expensive, and it was a lot of work, but I think that in the end, God had his plan for us for that one.
Did you have to replace your electrical pedestals?
No, we
No,
got very lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
very
lucky
on that.
because it might have been really difficult to replace those. So
Yeah.
So as somebody that's built a campground in the relatively recent past, and it's obviously it's faced some adversity with the flooding, what advice would you give to somebody that's thinking about getting into this business and starting from the ground up like you did? What would you tell them to keep in mind?
Research, which is my job and what I did a lot of. Well, I would say on the op side.
Yeah.
Don't let the little obstacles get in your way, because when you do, the big ones are going to seem really big. And I think I just spoke to that, how smoothly we got through it. I think that a lot of the one thing I found, especially, working with other managers and forums and different things like that, or owners, is there's different reasons that each one of us sign up to work in the industry, all the way down to managing or owning a park. Know what your purpose is and what your reason is, and stay true to it all the way through. Because if not, the guests start to notice that. If you want to run it as a corporation and don't want to have the personal side of it, then run it that way. Don't try to switch gears midway through, because it's transparent to the guests, to the campers. And being a, owner, that's one thing that we've done, is we wanted to build relationships, and that's exactly what we did. It wasn't about the financial side at the end of the day, because, being in the corporate world for as long as I was, that piece I was comfortable with. I wanted to build our dream, and my husband and I. So I think what I would say to them is whatever your purpose is, keep on track, keep that purpose, and don't switch gears. If you feel you're defeated, you're not, I promise you. There's always a light at the end of that tunnel, and the industry is amazing, and campers are happy, and you've got to stay true to it.
how did you, on the education side, how did you guys educate yourself? I guess I know you traveled a lot, so that probably helped. I guess, were there any like associations or anything that helped as well?
For my husband, a lot of his was just more, he's YouTube certified and everything. If not, he would reach out to SMEs as far as the grounds, those subject matter experts, and lean on people. For me, my background being marketing, sales, people, that piece, and ops, that piece that, was already had. The part I was missing was just really understanding the industry itself. And so I partnered with some great experts. Mark Cope is one, and continued to do to this day. He was tremendous in the beginning. I had mentioned to you when we were off camera that I worked with CampSpot. So therefore, as a national sales executive, I talked and met and spoke to a lot of other managers and owners along the way, and just kind of, we fed off one another in that way. Yeah, I would do demos all day long with these, and I would hear their pain, and we could talk about it. I think Mark's forum was the biggest for me, though, because I can go on and I can just type something in the search and find a million answers and go with what works best for my little transient park. All the way down to my camp store, I had no idea what to put in a camp store. As you know, I'd never been in a camp store. So I spent days and just kind of researching in his forum, in the owner's forum there. And I typed out a spreadsheet of everything that I wanted in our transient park. And I put it all together in a week. And 2 weeks later, it's the weirdest thing. I had this big brawly guy came in, and he looked around. He goes, "Your store is really cute. You've got everything you need here." And I was like, there you go. I didn't do it on my own, but that's just a great example of making sure that you're researching and you're in the right places. Our accountant, I don't handle any of that, although I probably could, but I don't want to take on more than I already have. He's industry specific as well. So just, understanding that side of the business, the do's and the don'ts. Again, I've just positioned myself with some great people that are strong, all the way down to our insurance company, industry specific as well. Same thing as I just aligned myself with those that knew what they were doing until I could help others with what they were doing as well.
So speaking of being in the right places, what made Jonesville and Elkin the place to be for you? Why that?
Well, it's more so my husband, because he was going to be doing the dirty work, literally. And, you know, the initial dream was, let's go to the mountains. If you build in the mountains, they'll come. And so he kept looking at property in the mountains, and we wanted to do all the grading ourselves just to save the money. And he would come home and say, you know, the grade's too steep each time. So he finally he said, well, what about a river? Let's look at that. And Jonesville's an hour from our home. So we're kind of glad we didn't go to the mountains, because this whole time we're thinking, how could we have commuted? Because we're in our park every Thursday through Sunday, and then we come home for a recharge and do the back end work. Well, I do. He stays a lot. But we just kept getting pulled back to the Jonesville area, and the river was beautiful. And he would look on Craigslist or wherever it may be. And one night we're sitting there, and he was already going to look at a property on the Jonesville Yadkin River. And it was a posting, and it had 3 sentences with no punctuation, no capitalization. And I said, take your gun. Because Craigslist is a little scary, dear. And he did. And he went to the first property, and he called, and he said, nope, not it. And I was like, it's okay. We're not in a rush. Went to the second property, and he called, and he said, well, you know, I just did a handshake with 2 little old guys, and a handshake in these parts, they say is good. And so, that's how we ended up in Jonesville.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
It looks like a beautiful spot.
It is. Not only is it beautiful, like I said, there's so much to do. We give out welcome packets to every guest that comes in, but definitely have taken the time to find all the things in the area. So when they do come once, they're not able to take in a quarter of it. So they're coming back again and again.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, we talk a lot about new trends. I know EVs are at the top of that list. I guess, you know, have you guys done anything for the EVs, or you guys see any AVs at your park, or, you know, what's that look like, I guess?
Can you elaborate on that?
Like electric vehicles?
Thank
like
you.
electric vehicles or
No, it's okay. Little techie there on me.
No.
No electric vehicles for us. I guess it just goes with aligning ourselves, kind of as we did for research. We do the same thing with our park, with the area. We're partnered with an e-bike company.
Okay.
And that's as electric as we've gotten. In the area that we're in, there's not much more. There's not really a need, I guess, in the South for anything more as it relates to electric, but that's as close as we've gotten.
Well, I know the electric bikes are really popular. So
Yeah.
you guys, so
I was going to say we're on a greenway, and then we have a lot of other areas for bicycling or biking near the park, and the company we're partnered with actually brings them to the park and drops them off for the guests for their stay, and then picks them back up as well.
Wow.
If I was a park owner, I'd have a rough time choosing what I wanted at my park, because there's so much stuff. Every time I go to these shows, there's new stuff, and then there's just, I'd want everything, which isn't feasible, but I would like to play with everything. So
not to sound as if I had my head in the sand, but just on that point alone, we've never been, just like we've never been to a park, an actual RV park, we've never been to any of the shows.
Well, there's lots of park owners that don't go to the shows. So
has Jim talked about bringing a motocross course into the side of the campground anywhere?
No, I wish you were here with me to actually hear you ask that, because his first response is he spent all those years trying to make money. And the motocross tracks don't do that. He wanted to leave all that behind. We do get that a lot, those especially that know of him and know, his reputation. Like, oh, and the field, I told you, we have that adjoining land that'll be ours. That's what everybody says. And he's like, nope, I left all that behind for my real dream.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know what the insurance would be like on a course like that.
Could you
That would
imagine?
be-
Well, that's what a waiver's for. They're different than when he owned and managed tracks that they would actually ride at.
Yeah, yeah.
You sign off on your life before you pull into the driveway of something like that. Of course, you do with RV parks too, I guess.
All right. Well, thanks, Marcia, for coming on the show. And it's great seeing you in person and talking with you and hearing about your park. And maybe you'll show up at a show at some point and we can meet in person. Or
Possibly.
maybe I'll show up at the park. So we'll
I
see.
was getting ready to say, I know where I'm at all the time. Maybe you should come visit me instead.
Well, I'm going to be hitting the road now that I'm back on the mainland. I am definitely going to be hitting the road over the next couple of years. So you're on my list now. So we'll stop by.
Please, we would be honored. And if it's helpful, if you guys go on our website, every single Saturday, March through the first weekend of December, I have an event. I've got 20 some live music events. My birthday is actually in August. It'd be a great time to come. We're doing a Hawaiian luau with a fire show and everything.
Wow.
And I have cornhole tournaments. Bingo's the favorite. Ben, I sent everything your way. We do a lot of charity events. I don't know if you can see it, but we wear my breast cancer tee. So we sell these in honor of my mother-in-law and our camp host wife for charity as well. But yeah, an event every single weekend, food truck. We have a bar on site, a local brewery on site, and a dessert truck. So you guys pick out your weekend. Let me know when you're coming. We stay booked, but you happen to know somebody.
And people can learn more at riverwalkrv.com, and we'll put we have the link to your park in the description of the posting, so people can click on that too. So it's a great park. Everybody should check it out, and it's been great catching up with you. And I hope things continue to go well, and that you don't have any more floods. So
no flood. Don't say the F word.
no more. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you back here next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having
Marcia.
me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to WCM's Park Update, a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Join us for a new show each Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for daily news and updates, and subscribe to our news feed on our website at woodallscm.com. Show hosts are Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. Executive producers Rick Kessler and Alex Burkett. Copyright 2022, G&G Media Group.